we're like an antenna. Our chakras go up like an antenna. And that's like we're receiving energy from the cosmos down through that antenna. And if a lot of people don't know how to open those top portions of their self.
Here we are, guys. We're back. I'm just getting this going. I'm not even thinking about an intro anymore. I got a good friend of mine now who, I mean, he's a Renaissance man, as we defined, and I don't want to get too into his description, but I know he's an intuitive healer. He is a very talented DJ amongst many other things. So like I said, Aaron Colbert, am I forgetting anything, how to label you properly?
No, that's perfect. I'm also a life coach, next step progression, also a meditation teacher. I'm going back to get my master's right now in clinical mental health counseling.
Perfect.
And I just want to combine the spiritual and the clinical mental health.
And we spoke about before we hit record, how diluted the word life coach is, and it's tough to distinguish in many fields to distinguish the expert. So it's nice to hear that you're backing your own experiences with education.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like for me personally, I have to, in order for myself to feel validated in helping other people, I need those degrees or those certificates. It's just something I've always been about. And so, yeah, I'm trying to get as many as I can.
It's nice. Yeah, it adds a level of confidence not only to yourself, but to the people that you're working with.
Absolutely.
So that's amazing. Thank you for being here. We've probably wasted about an hour and a half of great content before hitting record. But I said to Aaron earlier that I think this is going to be more than one episode because he's full of stories, full of experiences, full of knowledge that, regardless of what side of the coin your beliefs are, there's a lot to learn. So I'm excited to have you on. And please start wherever you want to start, and we'll just chop it up.
So I guess where I would start, I've always been super sensitive and intuitive. Some people call it empathic. And it manifested early on for me in the form of anxiety. And I thought I had an anxiety disorder, honestly. I'd go on planes. I'd feel sick. I'd be around a lot of people. I'd feel like all kinds of crazy stuff. And probably 10 years ago, I was in Sedona DJing with my friend Moses, a good friend of mine. We were in Sedona. I was sitting at the edge of a pool. He was sitting on the chair looking at me. I'm in the pool. And this lady comes and taps me on the shoulder. She's like, "Do you know who you are?" I was like, "What are you talking about?"
I'm Aaron. What do you mean?
Yeah. She's like, "Do you know who you are?" And I'm like, "Who am I?" And she's like, "You're an empath." I said, "Well, what does that mean?" And she starts listing all these attributes. And I just start crying.
Wow.
Because to that point, I had no idea. I thought I was an alien. I had no idea why I was the way I was. And finally, someone had given me a direction on I could research this kind of stuff. And I'm crying, and Moses is looking at me. He's like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? You were at this pool. You're like, and I'm like, that lady just told me. And he's like, what lady are you talking about?
Oh,
and
wow.
I don't know if he just didn't see her or if I have no idea. But to this day, it's like, I have no idea.
Whoa, that's like the ending of Sixth Sense.
So I just took that as okay, and I just took that and I just rolled with it. Googled empath, started researching everything, took a bunch of classes. I read the Empath Survival Guide from Judy Orloff, who is here in Santa Monica, who's amazing. I did a couple sessions with her, and that led me down this journey of opening myself up, being sensitive, but also protecting my energy, being able to read energy, reading people who have passed, being more open to them coming through.
Well, let me ask you, so prior to having that experience, you mentioned kind of felt alienated and you weren't sure what was going on. Was that because of the panic attacks, or were you having other experiences that led you to feel that way?
So let's say I get on a plane as a youth. Now I understand, I would absorb, I would be feeling everyone on the plane, and I'd be feeling all of their panic and all of their stuff.
Unbeknownst to you at that moment.
Unbeknownst to me, I'm like, what is going on? Why can't I breathe? Why am I feeling all these things? I was feeling everyone on the plane. So then I realized, oh, this is not anxiety. I'm feeling other people's stuff and I'm taking it in as my own. And
wow.
so then it led me down this journey of like, I have to start figuring out what's mine and what's not mine. And that's even with people who come through from the other side. Is this mine or is this somebody else's, you know? So that's kind of how it all started.
Jesus. All right. Well, thank God for this. So now you're not, to this day, you're not even sure if that lady was someone who came through or a real person?
No. Whew. And Sedona is one of these places, is a vortex. So it's, from my understanding, it's a convergence of dimensions. You know, there's different dimensions. We're on one plane. I think dead people are on in this dimension, but on another plane.
So define, is that what your definition of a vortex was? Like, did you just define it?
I think a vortex is a convergence of dimensions.
It's a tunnel, like a...
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
And Sedona is one of those places. It's the central vortex of the Southwest. All Native American people are gravitated towards these places. Palm Springs is one.
How is that determined? Just a collective group of feeling and...
I honestly don't know that answer. If maybe someone could to check.
Yeah,
and
so
see.
we'll Google that.
But I mean, there's tons of psychic readers and there's tons of spiritual healers in all of these places.
Interesting.
And when you go there, it is legit. Like, things happen.
Wow.
Driving there, I thought I had a UTI. I was telling Moses, we're driving. I'm like, man, I think I have a UTI. It kind of hurts down there. We go on this pink Jeep tour with this guy. It's just me and Moses, four-wheeling through the desert Sedona. He stops at this tree. I kid you not. He grabs the branch of this tree and gives it to me. And he said, the Indian people used to cure urinary tract infections with this.
What? And you told this guy that?
No.
Who the hell is this guy?
But that's what I'm saying. That's what happens in these places. Like,
so if you have a UTI, people that are listening, go to Sedona.
Go to Sedona.
Grab a branch, hang on for dear life. All right, sorry, go on.
Anyway, like serendipity, things just, that's, you know.
Synchronicities.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we right now? You just found this out. You're on the plane.
I found this out. So basically, I wanted to learn how to protect my energy from other people, you know. So I started with intuitive healing. I took intuitive healing at the Den. It's a school. I went through basic intuitive healing, advanced intuitive healing, a spiritual leadership program. Then I did a meditation teacher training as well as a positive mindfulness training, all just gaining tools on my spiritual growth.
Okay. Good for you.
And part of that was opening up myself to read people who have passed. And I think everyone can do it, but I think that there's certain people that are more sensitive than others.
How do you distinguish, how do you distinguish feelings? Like you said, this could be the feeling of someone else. Then there's the feeling of these other people coming through. Is it majority feeling or are you seeing?
Some people see, some people hear. Mine is a knowingness.
So it's kind of like you give a bad feeling of this place. I feel like something's going to happen kind of feeling.
Yes.
You just understand what it is.
Yes. Huh. Or I'll walk when I'm cleansing a house, let's say. I had a friend who just bought this brand new house in the hills and she's like, it just doesn't have great energy. I'm like, okay, let me come in and just see what I see. And, you know, and people imprint their energy on rooms, on objects, on different things. And it can be negative, it can be positive. And
intentionally, or you think it just happens because they use this item more often?
Or something traumatic will happen in a house.
Right.
And that energy will stay there until you clear it out. So that's what I had to do for her.
Okay.
You know, so
shit.
So if you have a room that you don't like going into, you might have to clear some energy.
I think one of the episodes I had with Erica Kita, she mentioned about some stories about people coming in and clearing energies of properties that haven't sold for real estate agents, and then all of a sudden, shit, the house will sell a couple of days later.
It happens all the time. Or you see venues. Why did that bar not? Why is that one failing? And the one next door, there's 1 billion people in it. It's because of the energy of the space. It's the energy of the owners.
Yeah.
It's how they create the energy.
It's not the shitty title of the bar.
That could be that too.
or
night title.
Yeah, it could be a lot of different reasons. So where are you at this stage? Because now you're starting to figure it out. You're taking classes. You're learning and defining what this stuff is. And how does that make you feel when you're starting to realize this out? You know, like when you learn you can do something like that, what do you do with it?
For some people go down the road of becoming mediums, and there's actually a mediumship that you can actually learn how to do it in the proper way, because mediums are absorbing a lot of energy. If you don't do it the right way, it's really harmful physically. They don't last long a lot of times. So there's places you can go to actually learn to do that. I don't personally want to be a medium. That is not why I'm here. I want to use my intuitive reading and healing to help heal people. And I want to get my master's and merge the two so that I can have these tools, teach people these tools, these spiritual healing tools for themselves, because we all can heal ourselves.
Right.
It's just a matter of learning how to do that, as well as getting in touch with your spirit guides, people who have passed, who are there helping you.
What's your, hope I'm not cutting you off there. What's your opinion on, I've had my own thoughts. Like I mentioned the story when we were talking prior about, my mother and my sister seeing mediums, and I saw one when I was 12, but I was young. A lot I don't remember. And I was kind of like torn between, is this a good thing to get in touch with the other side, whether you believe it or not, or is it a bad thing? You know what I mean? Is there a yin and yang to connecting with the other side?
I don't think so. I think that I think it brings a lot of closure. It brings a lot of healing.
Whether you want to hear it or not, right?
Whether you want to hear it or not. And it definitely helps heal the person who's passed, as well as the people who are still here. You just have to make sure you vet mediums very well, because, just like in any profession, there's bad ones, there's good ones, there's false, there's not false.
Right.
They can be really therapeutic. And a lot of times people will take like ayahuasca to get to that plane almost, but it only gives you a little glimpse into something that you can do in meditation on your own without doing any kind of drugs.
Interesting. It takes how do you even do that? Is that another rabbit hole of a conversation?
Yeah, it's a whole nother.
Yeah, it's episode 4 when you bring you back.
But the crazy thing about it is, I'll tell you a couple stories about when people have come to me. My ex, who I'm not going to name his name, but his mother passed in the middle of our relationship. We were very close, and I'm a huge tennis player, and I played tennis tournaments all the time. She used to follow me on the LA tennis ladder, and she would call Mike and be like, oh, I said his name.
Shit.
Sorry, Mike.
Maybe we'll bleep that out. We just did it twice. Now I'm up to him with 2 bleeps.
So she would call and be like, Aaron's number one on the tennis ladder. So excited. Post it on her fridge.
For everyone to see.
She loved it. It was so great. She was a sweetheart. She was the best. And we were so connected in the small amount of time I knew her. I was playing in a tournament, the LA Open. I was not doing well. It was the second round. I was so pissed at myself and not having fun. And all of a sudden, this butterfly hits me in the face as I'm on the court. It flies into my face.
Like mid-match?
Mid-match.
Wow.
And they believe that the female in his lineage become butterflies when they die. That's just their belief.
Oh.
And I didn't know this until afterwards. But so this butterfly hits me, and I just went like that. And I hear her in my head, just have fun, you're number one. Just have fun, you're number one. Just have fun, you're number one.
What's the time? Is this after you like figured out you're an empath and all that?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
So I wasn't feeling like I was crazy. I was like,
Right.
okay. And she kept on saying it over and over. And I broke down and I started crying.
Oh,
and I'm in the middle of a match and this guy's looking at me like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Yeah. Literally for 5 minutes, I was crying. And then the other emotion, I just started laughing, and it was a release. She was allowing me to release this tension, this negativity that I needed to release at the moment. And right then I'm like, I'm going to win this tournament. And I won.
Wow.
I knew it in that instant.
Damn.
And that's one of the times that she's come to me, and she always has come to me on the tennis court, which I'm like, because we connected in that way, I think, over tennis. And so she always, for some reason, comes to me when I'm on the tennis court.
I guess it's relative to your life with her.
Totally.
Huh? I might be jumping the gun on this question. I don't know if this is too early for this one, but sure. What has this done for you in regards to life after death? Like, is that clearly there's, energy doesn't, neither can be destroyed nor created nor destroyed.
It just transmutes.
And what is your interpretation of what happens after we're just energy, and then what is our existence in your opinion? Do you feel like you know the answer to this, or is it?
I don't think anyone knows the answer to it.
We won't know till we know.
We have a philosophy. Some people believe that your energy transforms into something else that gets reincarnated on this planet.
Right.
Some people I believe that your energy changes into something else, but it's still your essence. It will never be different. I feel like we're on one plane and there's different dimensions. I feel like those people are on the same plane, but in a different dimension of that plane.
When you say different dimension, like what could that mean?
It's different dimensionality. So like we're in this one dimension,
right.
3D, 380, 480, right. All these things, we can only see a certain amount of what's happening really. And I feel like these people are part of it, but on a different plane.
And these other planes, do you believe we are the only material? Is that the right way to say it?
I don't know, actually. But what's crazy is most of the time when they come through, it's a feeling, or they'll use electronics. I always see 111. I always see 1111 every day. 123, like all the time. I see all these numbers around me all the time. And they use those. I'll give you another example. I was meditating the other day, and my grandmother, we used to go to Mexico every summer. She had a cabin on the beach, and there's a distinct smell going in on the beach in Mexico, Rocky Point, Choya Bay, in her cabin.
Good smell or a bad smell?
Great smell.
Oh, that's good. Thank God.
Some parts, no, but
all right.
I'm meditating and the window's open behind me, and I was in this weird place in my life. And all of a sudden this breeze blows right from behind me from the window. And distinctly it was my grandma, and she was sending that scent from Mexico. I smelt it so vividly coming through my window. It was almost like, just remember everything's going to be okay.
Damn, sending sense. I never heard sending sense. I've heard images, feelings, electronics, but sense is a new one for me.
It was that smell of being on the beach with her, and like that time in Mexico. And it was an overwhelming feeling of just like, you're okay. Everything's going to be fine. And I'm here, I'm giving you these things just to let you know I'm around and it's okay.
I feel like that would be really powerful. I can't relate to you on the level you have these experiences, but I believe scent is like, of the senses in regards to being nostalgic, is like the strongest one.
For
like
sure.
If we personally, I've read that or heard that, but especially in my own experience, when I smell something, like, holy shit, like I'm back in 5th grade. Like that scent is powerful. So what the hell is that? Scientifically, what the hell is happening there? For you, like not my nostalgia, but like scent getting sent. How do you explain that?
It was crazy. And it was just like, there's just this breeze blew through, and like, I hadn't thought about her in a while. And like, it was just like this crazy moment where I'm like, wow, that's the only time that's kind of happened with a scent, like a smell.
How do you explain that little and anything you experience to someone who, like, that doesn't believe it? Have you come across people that are just like, you're full of shit?
Of course. I mean, there's always skepticism.
So no matter what we talk about, there's always skepticism. I'm just curious cause I believe you, and I'm just curious how you explain it to someone. Just like, I know you can't change certain things, so it's kind of like, whatever, you don't have to believe it.
Yeah.
But have you ever had a situation where you've had to kind of explain it, or you just explain what you feel and then whether they take it or leave it?
Yeah. I mean, it's not my job to push my opinions on other people. I normally bring people in my life who want to learn about these things. They gravitate towards me because that's the energy I'm sending out there.
Yeah, I feel like it's me right now. I'm curious.
And the people who they don't really gravitate towards me.
And so let it be.
And like my brother, for instance, he's a doctor, he's a dermatologist, he's super religious, he's Mormon. When he was on a cruise with no Wi-Fi, no nothing, the night my grandmother died. He didn't even know that she was dying. We had a call, you got to come to Tucson. Me and my sister got in a car, we drove to Tucson. She was going to pass. We couldn't get in touch with him. He was in the middle of the ocean. He said that he was sitting in his cabin, same thing, a breeze blew through the window, and he knew that she had died.
Huh.
And he got an email the next day from my mom saying, "Hey, grandma had passed." Da 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 da.
He knew it.
He knew.
That happened. My mom's partner, been with him like 10 years. His son passed, and my mom and Ken even explained the story. Ken, if you're listening, he explained that he just was sitting on the counter. All of a sudden, he had a feeling. He's never had, from my understanding, he's never explained to me. He's had experiences on his own of being empathetic, or however you explain it, or having these moments of connecting with the other side. He just had this jolt go through him. He's like, I think my mom just died. Like he had a feeling with that, and turns out it was his son. His son died, but I think his mom was sick, or I don't know. But he thought it was his mom.
Sure.
Hopefully, I'm telling the story correctly. But nevertheless, he looked at the time too, and then the time where he felt that aligned with the time where it was, I guess, determined that when his son died.
Sure.
I mean, he had that feeling. He thought it was his mom, but it ended up being his son. But regardless, someone who's never had that experience, whether he believes it or not, at that exact moment, and that was confirmed that was the time he died, I was like, it's tough. It's tough to debate that.
Well, then a lot of times too, so we're all connected. We cord each other, and that's how, we're corded right now through our throat. We're sending energy back and forth. And you're connected to your parents. That connection is an actual thing. And when someone either ends that connection or they leave this plane, you feel
it?
That connection ending.
Does it end?
In that way? Well, it ends in the way where you're connected on this plane.
On this dimension?
Yeah, with a cord.
Okay.
So the cord is now gone because they're no longer.
It's also wireless headphones now, so maybe that's what you're talking about. But it's interesting you say that because I lost my train of thought. But it's interesting to think of it that way because, from my understanding of the quantum field, it's like that. At least how I'm learning it from Joe Dispenza, how I'm understanding from a layman's term, not as educated as you are. So maybe it's good for people that are listening. I'm most probably educated, so you're hearing an asshole like me talk about it. At the quantum field, from my understanding, is just a field where everything's connected. So if that's true, if the quantum field is a different dimension, then are we pulling the cord on this dimension, but in the next dimension, everything's still connected?
Everything is still connected. This is my feeling though. It's a different connection. You're corded into your friends and you're transferring energy and you're doing these things. And some people, you want to remove the cords because you're moving on with your life. So you're actually removing their energy from you and you're taking yours. You're not corded anymore and you don't feel them as much.
When you say corded, I'm relating to the cord. Now I'm thinking someone's trying to seduce me. But
have you ever sat there and you think about somebody, and then they call you?
Yes,
it's because you're speaking telepathically. You're connected to them.
Yeah, right. It's happened all the time.
When you speak to people who have passed, it's different. It's a different type of connection. And most people don't allow themselves to be open to be connected in that way.
And is that the difference between when you said you think everyone can do it? Is because some people are open to it, some people aren't?
Some people are born more sensitive than others.
So you believe it's more of a biological birth?
But you can learn how to do it.
Got it. It's just, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're like an antenna. Our chakras go up like an antenna. And that's we're receiving energy from the cosmos down through that antenna. And if a lot of people don't know how to open those top portions of their self, the crown chakra, which is right above your head, in between your eyes, which is your gland that is like your psychic space, your throat, your heart,
I mean, it makes sense when you try to lay it down in a simple form, which I think of just a radio station, how you turn onto a certain knob into a frequency. We have electricity running through our bodies right now.
We're all frequency.
We're all frequency.
Higher
so it's
frequency, high vibrating, low vibrating.
Yeah, so why it's not? It makes sense. It makes more sense than ever now.
The higher you vibrate, you're going to connect with those because they're high vibrating creatures. Spirits are high vibrating. They have gone to a different plane. This is just my truth, how I feel.
Right.
And so when you are vibrating a bit higher, you do connect with them. And I'll give you another example. We were in Tulum, me and three of my buddies, and I did a te mezcal with a shaman, which is essentially a sweat lodge. There's no drugs involved. And you release all these things. It was an amazing experience. One of my buddies couldn't do it the day we did it. So the next day we signed up again. And that night we're sitting on the beach in front of our house. And we're talking, and all of a sudden we look down. This ginormous sea turtle is literally sitting at our feet, looking at us. We didn't even see it crawl up.
What?
And we both, again, start bawling. I literally thought in that moment, my grandmother sent this animal here. I could feel this ancient, amazing creature sitting here. And it just came to say hello, and you're in the right path. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
You just felt this definition.
I felt this. This all came to me, and I had this release of emotion, and I started crying. And we walked with it. It turned around after about 5 minutes. We walked with it to the beach, and it disappeared. And I asked this lady, the shaman, and she said, "That's so rare. It doesn't happen many times. It's a gift from your abuela, which is your grandmother." Right. And I'm like, that's how I felt. I thought it was my grandmother telling me. And she's like, yeah, it's normally your grandmother coming back telling you you're on the right path. It's a gift.
Now, was she saying it was rare in a sense that it was animal form or that specific species?
That specific animal, and not a lot of, it doesn't happen very often.
It's for me personally, it's hard for me to dissect, and we spoke about it earlier again, about some people just dismissing synchronicities as coincidence. And I wonder, well, I guess we'll never know, or maybe we'll know someday down the line of what is, if there really are coincidences. I guess that's the big argument. Are there coincidences, or is there a reason for all these synchronicities? Because like when I meditate and I hang out, just catch my breath on my little balcony, like a couple of times recently when I've been meditating and I just finished, there's like a little bird that was just like on top of the little balcony. And like, I feel like I just felt something weird with the bird. I don't know why. Most of the time, oh, there's a bird. Cool. I carry on. But the fact that this bird was just right next to my balcony, right there amongst that moment, a couple of times, once or twice. And then recently I'm about to walk to my balcony. The freaking little shit was on my back. He went over the little bamboo, which is a small little area where you can fly through. The little bird was just like frolicking on my balcony. And then as soon as I come out, he leaves. It's like, what are you doing?
All the time. So this is so funny that you say that, because on that Tulum trip, I had dogs following me and I'm like,
yeah, do you have bacon in your pocket?
I felt like Snow White, like all these animals following me around. No, seriously, it's crazy. And when you're in tuned and you're vibrating on that and you're in flow with life, I felt so in flow at that moment. Animals are instinctive. They know, they can feel you. They know, dogs have sixth sense, So it's when you're in that state of meditation, you come out of it. It's not a coincidence that animals are attracted to you or aren't scared to come around you, or the other side sending you a message like,
Yeah, I mean, is it because animals are like less conscious than we are? Is that even I don't know, that's even a thing in humans. I feel like the inhibition.
Yeah, because our brains are the things that's fucking
the ego
us up.
and the self. Carl Jung says the ego and the self, and the ego is the conscious and the self is their unconscious. I feel like animals don't have that line as much as we do, so they're more in tune.
Instinct, in tuned. Their senses are so heightened, and we let our minds get in the way of all of ours. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people cannot connect to the other side like that, is because their brains are just, they're not able to get out of their own way.
So do you find peace with death because of your experience, or are you still like figuring it out?
I'm not scared of death.
Have you always been that way?
Yeah. Well, no, I haven't always been that way. But like this whole Corona thing, there's so much fear around, there's nothing to fear but fear itself, is the saying. And there's so much fear around dying. And when you realize that, like, it's just another transition into another part of life.
Death.
Okay. And there's really nothing to be afraid of.
We're scared because we don't know.
Sure. Or you're scared because you don't know how you're going to die. That's really why you're scared. You don't know how you're going to die. It's not about dying. It's like, is it going to be terrible? Am I going to have this huge disease?
That's real.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got stuck on a roller coaster once, and there's a moment where we were stuck at the highest point of Six Flags. People were freaking out all around me, and I was like laughing and enjoying. I was cool. And then my thought was like, well, if I die right now, it's going to be pretty quick. Just don't get my legs caught. But it was like the first thought was not so much dying. It was like, shit, I don't want to go painfully.
Totally.
That's real.
That's a real thing.
That would suck. Painful, but death would suck. But go on. You initially, weren't as at peace with death. Now, is that because of your founding of touching with the other side and finding what did you find?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that it's just another part of life. It's the next step in life. And so this life doesn't end. It continues, but it's just something different. And so that's why it's kind of like, Well, it's just the next step. It's the next progression. It's the next growth. It's the next thing.
I wonder how many levels there are.
I don't know.
Jim Jeffries, I think I mentioned this in a prior episode. Jim Jeffries, a comedian. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but I think he's atheist. And he made a joke, which I just thought was hilarious. He's like, if you think about heaven, I'm paraphrasing, think about heaven, it's eternal, which is forever. And he's like, eventually I'll get bored. It's true. It's like, Jesus, that's what freaks me out more than anything is the idea of eternal and forever. And it's like, but I guess then I come back to that. I'm like, well, if the eternal is forever bliss, then it's gonna be so fucking amazing that it'll never get bored. It's so amazing.
But I feel like
hopefully,
I feel like you've lived multiple lives and you can live another life. I feel
me
like
or people
in general. There's also past life. You know, you can go into that whole past life thing, and there's a whole thing on doing past life work.
Are you educated on past life regression? Or
yeah, no? But not. We touched on it in some of the advanced healing sessions. I don't know a lot about it. We touched on it. I've looked at a couple of my past lives.
Because that makes me think, because earlier you said, it's when we go to the next level and it's our energy, it's specifically our energy. And I guess if we do reincarnate or whatever happens, it's still out. It's still that same energy that continues. But we're just unconscious of it. Like if we say we go somewhere else, if that's the case, we're just. Are there maybe some moments where you kind of have that thought where maybe you're more sensitive?
Deja vu,
right.
An eternal flame. You meet them and you're like, "Fuck, I've met you before." Like where?
Yeah, you look different now.
Why is it so? Why are we so connected instantly? Or, why was my grandmother coming to me as a turtle? Why was her energy in this animal? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't. No one knows the answer. But I know that people who have passed are still around energetically. They come to me all the time. I'll be in an Uber and I'll get it and they'll be aggressive sometimes, and I'll be like, I don't want to I don't know this guy. I don't want to say something to him, and he might be upset and I'll just ask him, has your aunt passed? She wants me to tell you,
What kind of reactions do you get from those people?
I've never had a bad reaction to
especially in LA. I feel like I wonder if you go to different parts of the world, some people are going to react different to that.
Or we did the psychic fair at the Lapeer, which is so much fun. Cool. Even if you don't even believe in it, it's just fun to do it.
Yeah.
And there was this couple, and I had this overwhelming energy of she was pregnant.
Oh boy.
And it's because a woman that's pregnant has an energy to them. Their energy is different from someone who is not pregnant. And I can feel that. And it's like, well, then do you tell her or do you not tell her?
Oh, like she doesn't know she's pregnant?
Yeah. And so it's
Has it happened?
Yeah, of course.
And you said something to her?
Of course.
And did she find out she was pregnant?
Well, I preface it by
she might think you're calling her fat.
Just to let you know, it wasn't that she had you not showing, wasn't pregnant. She was actually on her third date with this guy. And so I'm like, okay, so how do I say this? And do I say this? And,
yeah, that's tough.
And he just looked at me like, you're out of your mind. And it turned out she was pregnant.
Holy Lord. Was it that guy or the guy before her?
It was him.
Okay, that's better, I guess. Third date.
It was crazy though. And so sometimes, I've kind of found a balance of I normally don't say anything anymore.
Yeah.
Before I think I was just trying to prove to myself that I could do it. It was kind of like, oh, I'm going to show off. Let me see if I can do this. And let me see if I'll be right. And now I'm just like, I don't need to do that. I know. So
I wonder if it becomes it's kind of not black, gray area of consent. And maybe some people might feel different of knowing that, I guess.
Totally. And it's not my place,
Yeah, it's very nice that you've realized that.
But they were at a psychic fair, so.
Oh, well, yeah. That I feel like you're signing an unwritten law / release of liability there. You step into these grounds, you're going to find out some shit whether you like it or not. It was interesting to hear how you mentioned you in the beginning trying to figure out which energy was yours. I want to revert back a little bit about how do you decipher the people that are on Earth, their energies between yours or between energies that are coming through that are on the other side.
Well, I mean, you can look at, so when I'm doing a reading for somebody, there's specific ways in which I will be neutral and remove any matching energy that we have because we're essentially a reflection of each other. So I don't want to read this stuff that's a reflection of myself. I don't want to read myself, you know? So,
Or meaning someone else is having the same feelings as you?
yes.
Okay.
So we do have matching energy. We all have some kind of matching energy. So I remove those matching energies. I become neutral. And there's different tools. I don't want to get into all of them,
Okay.
how to do that. But it's important. It's really, really important because you have to be neutral in order to see the person clearly. Or if I'm in a space where there's a lot of people and I think I'm reading you and I'm reading the person next to you, that gets really tricky too.
Yeah.
To sort out.
How do you, I mean, like, is there like a layman's way of explaining? Is it something you just vision in your head? Like
How does it even come to me? I mean, it
you just
just
do
comes
it?
in so many different
It's
ways.
just instinctual?
Yeah, it's just kind of like everyone thinks psychics are like, oh, they can tell me when I'm going to die. They can tell me if I'm going to be rich, blah, blah, blah. And that's not really how it is. I always like to ask, what is a burning question? And I read the energy around your question. If someone comes through, I'll let you know what the energy is about that. But it's always changing. It can be different a week from now because of the choices that you're making and what you're doing from this moment.
The energy.
So I'm reading the energy in this moment right now. What is happening right now in this moment?
Right. I guess that makes sense. Jesus. Okay. I mean, my understanding now, lately, I've been doing my own research, you know, with a lot of popular names and whatnot. And I believe more than ever, you know, like life is just energy. So it can be transmuted in so many different ways that it's just crazy to hear that you're in tune with it more than other people.
Well, let's say anxiety is the same energy as excitement, just on the opposite spectrum. So you can transmute anxiety into excitement if you want to. And I had to learn that tool when I was having major anxiety getting on planes. Be like, okay, because I'd be like, oh, I'm so nervous. You know, what if I start feeling this anxiety? And so instead, I transmuted it into, I'm so excited to go on this trip. I can't wait to go. These people I'm going to see. Same energy, just opposite ends of the spectrum. And so when you realize that everything has a polar opposite, especially energies, you can actually transmute them into the positive, higher vibrating.
I feel like that transmutation, if correct me if I'm wrong, is in line with just your perception and train of thought. You know what I mean? Like back to that roller coaster story, I was calm. People on the end were freaking the hell out, but we both had the same view.
Totally.
We both had the exact same experience, but I was looking at it as this thought, and they were looking at it as this thought. And is that not the transmutation of looking at it? Is this anxiety or is this excitement? Is
Well,
that similar?
you probably too learned how to ground out that energy too. You acknowledge, hey, I'm nervous. I wonder if I break my leg, but you didn't internalize it.
No.
And when you freak out, it's because you're internalizing it. You acknowledge it's there and you allow it to pass. And
yeah, that goes back to we were speaking about stress, where it's like, you know, this shitty event happens. I'm stressed from that. I just lost my job. So it's the job loss that holds the energy of stress, but you're really internalizing stress within you.
totally.
Like you're creating the stress. It's not the action. Like the action happened. Yes, that's real, but it's the way you perceive it and internalize that. Does that make sense?
Well, you should look at it and you should process it. I mean, you have to process emotions.
That's natural.
So you stress out for a little bit, but you don't dwell in that. You don't follow the path of that energy, because when you follow the path of the energy, then it starts bringing you down and your vibration's low, and then you're attracting those low vibrating things.
Is that the hyper focus? You're hyper focusing.
You're hyper focusing on that,
right?
And then you get in this loop where your mind can't get out of that cycle. That's where a lot of OCD people, the energy around it when I'm reading them is this loop, and I have to like knock them out of their loop. They're stuck in a loop.
So because what you focus on is where you're putting your energy, and if you're hyper focused on that negative low vibration, the negative event, then all your energy is therefore going to that low event. And the more you focus on that, the more you're constantly thinking about it.
Or you're reliving it, and it just goes around and around.
And you're stuck in
and
that
around
loop.
and around.
So I've read a book that explained the solution to that. What is the solution to that?
For me,
It's his opinion.
I do a meditation that I run my energy every day. So I'm constantly moving stagnant old energy out, and I'm bringing new energy in. And
what does that mean logistically for someone who's not as in tune as you? Is there a way to explain that without giving your secrets for free?
Excuse me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. $29.95.
Yeah, I'm about to say, like, we can. You know what? We're not going to get into that. If you want to figure it out, you hire this guy. By the way, that's interesting.
So grounding is the most important thing you can do. And a lot of times, if you don't know how to ground, go to the beach, stick your feet in the sand, feel connected to the earth.
Got it. Simple as that.
You can allow gravity to take any energy or emotion out of your body. Allow gravity to take any energy or emotion out of your body.
That you want. You literally think about that energy and visualize it.
Just visualize if you are angry or at someone or whatever, allow that energy to be taken out by gravity. Gravity will pull it out. It'll take it down to the Earth's core, and the Earth will transmute it into whatever the Earth needs at that moment.
And for anyone else, and anyone that's listening that isn't so gung-ho about this or isn't so certain about it, just what do you got to lose to try it? But I feel like there's a difference between just trying it and believing in it. Because I feel like if you try it with like the back of your mind saying, oh, this ain't going to fucking work, then it's not going to work. So it's about being
grounding meditations. Just do that.
Yeah, Google's great. Fucking Google that shit. So we can go. I think we can go on for 9 hours. So I'm going to have you another episode because it's so interesting.
We don't want to talk about when we're last thing.
I want to talk about the last thing too. So you go first, and then I'll bring up my last thing.
So alcohol, this is a huge thing for people, okay? Low vibrating energies, and I don't want to say demons, but spirits that are not good spirits hang out in bars and places where there are quote unquote spirits, which are beverages. So yeah.
Whoa, is there an origin behind the name there?
Yes, a lot of people don't realize this. Just like in food, if someone's putting love into the food, your grandma, she puts the love into the food.
Rice balls.
Food tastes better. Exactly.
My grandma's rice balls.
The cinnamon rolls.
Yeah.
The food tastes better. She's putting her energy into the food. Just like if someone's making your drinks, if he's angry or whatever, he's putting his energy into your drinks. I always ground my drinks. I ground out any energy in my drink because it's been passed to me by someone who I don't know.
Makes sense why my mom's food's so good. Go on.
It's true. I mean, we have chicken noodle soup when you're sick.
Spirits.
When you drink, have you ever had a friend that you're like, fuck, he always turns into someone, I don't even recognize that person.
Well, yes, of course. I can name a few.
It's because you're opening yourself up for things to come in.
You're letting your guard down?
You're opening yourself up. Spirits allow things to come in. Good, bad, the ugly. And you're not aware of it because you're intoxicated, obviously. Some people might not agree with me or think this is weird. I always tap my drink. I always have this ritual where I tap my drink with kind of my wrist.
Why your wrist? Pulse?
I don't know. It's just been an instinctual thing, and it just grounds out any negativity. I just kind of, for a second, I just go like that.
When you say ground out, that's gravity?
Just
get the hell out of here.
Allowing that negative energy to...
Okay.
And I'll take it out of people who are around me. I'll ground out their drinks, or I'll ground them out too. Because crazy shit can happen if you don't do that, or you don't set up your space before you go into these places where everyone's drunk on and there's all these spirits flying around.
Is that specific with alcohol, or is that really with any drugs to lower your inhibition? Because a lot of drugs too, aside from alcohol, can kind of.
Yeah, I think alcohol mostly, honestly.
So there is an origin to the name why they call it spirit. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, look it up.
Jesus, another Google. I got a lot of Googling to do. So
anyway, I just thought that was an interesting thing.
Yeah, kidding me? Jesus. All right.
So ground your drinks out, people.
I'm gonna ground everything out. So what I wanted to kind of peel off on was for people, this is Dead Talks, for people that are, going through it now or have a fear of death, in your humble opinion, how do you explain your viewpoint on people? I know you probably already explained it through the episode, but just as like a synopsis, how do you help find peace for people that are going through it right now? Maybe explaining from your perception of being the other side is still there. The other side still exists. They're not dying. It's just like the meat bags that we're in are going away, but their energy lives on. Is there a layman's term that you would explain to people that are going through it right now, that are grieving or even haven't experienced death, that are just have a fear of death?
I think that there is the grieving process.
Right.
There are steps. Some people are quicker on that. Some people never fully heal. There will always be a scar there. Doing it in a productive way is so important. Allowing the emotions to come up, allowing yourself to have releases, allowing yourself to have breakdowns. That's part of it. Keeping it inside is not healthy. You have to let it out. In whatever way that you can do that, I use my meditation and I ground that energy out. I allow it to come out and then I release it. It's so important. And obviously remembering the person. I always pray to my people who have passed, my grandmother, all these people. I always pray to them, and it makes me feel like I'm still connected. Prayer is super important.
So when you say productive, I'm sure this is, numerous ways you can go about that specific to you. An example of being unproductive is just going to the booze, for example.
Going to the booze. And, going to the booze is okay for a minute.
Right. It's
okay to get that out of your system because Lord knows I've done it. But then there's a time, there's a time for everything. And not keeping that grief inside you, because that is what causes disease.
Right.
That's when you have stagnant energy, especially a trauma, and it sticks there and you're not able to remove it, it's stagnant. It causes a little disease, and then it causes a little symptom. And that symptom, if it's not released, causes a real thing. And then that's, so just processing it, and not keeping it in, sharing it with other people, allowing people to help.
Yeah, that's definitely a common theme in regards to what I've learned, and people from their own stories is the suppression, the keeping it in and letting it out in some way is so important. As simple as that, however you do it. I think that your body, deep down, I think we overcomplicate. It's like, how do I let it out? What does that mean? It could be as simple as talking. It could be as simple as meditating, like you said. Whatever it is, I think innately and instinctively, we all know that feeling of release too. I think we do it without even defining it. So I think that makes a lot of sense, where that's definitely a common theme of just, we got to let it out. But it's important to feel too. I think we naturally just suppress the emotion. When we were speaking about it again earlier, pre-recording, how, it's the ebbs and flows of emotions are constant throughout life, where you can feel angry, you can feel pain. And the people that have most control still always feel like that, where it's important to, okay, I feel angry, feel it. Don't because I feel angry, put it away. It's like, it's natural to feel the anger, let that shit out. It's just a matter of how quickly you can recover from it and understand what it's coming from, and
why it's coming,
and releasing it.
And that's the truth, is we're an onion peel, and some things take a long time to release. Past traumas. I had a past thing with my family that literally has taken me until my 43rd birthday, and it comes up, I release it. It comes up, I release it. It comes up, I release it. It comes up. All these triggers triggering it, and the trigger triggers the emotion. The emotion comes up, and then most people want to swallow it back down.
Why is that?
I don't know, actually.
Well, Joe Dispenza always says that people can become addicted to that stress. It's almost like a constant in your life, where it's some sixth sense.
You can get addicted to negative energy for sure, because it's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
But now I look at it, when it comes up, it's coming up for a reason. It's almost like you're throwing up something that you don't need anymore, and you're just releasing it, and you got to get it out. You can look at it and dissect it and determine why it's there and where it's from, but it's not really important for most people. When the emotion comes up, you just realize, okay, it's coming up for a reason, and you release it in a productive way.
That's it. Deep down, I think we know what a productive way is.
Totally. And sometimes drinking is the productive way.
Yeah, do it in moderation. As long as
hey, I'm a DJ. Trust me, I'd like to drink.
No, it's good to have it. It's like I said, there's nights where you just need to let it go. That could be great, as long as you just don't let that be the definition of your life. And I don't know, we don't have to explain that. People deep down, we know what we should be doing.
Totally.
We just have to find it. And
if you don't, your guides will nudge you along the way if your eyes are a little bit opened.
It's gotta be open to it.
Yeah.
And why not? There's crazy shit that happens all day. Why not?
Absolutely. Speaking of, on my last birthday, I was clearing stuff out. I have this armoire and this weird box. I opened the box. There was my grandmother's, I don't even know what it was, to be honest with you. It was like this box thing. And I open it, and there's this gold ring. It was literally on my birthday, and it was my grandfather's ring. I never knew that I had this gold ring from him. It was almost like, and the energy I read it was like a birthday gift. It was like, here you go.
You just felt it?
It was like, here you go.
Or is it on you right now? Where's the ring?
No, it's this one my grandfather made.
Yeah, very nice.
He used to make turquoise, but it's like those little things. It's like, I never even knew that box was there, you know?
Yeah,
it's
on
like,
this day, at this moment. Yeah, it's where like your attention gets called sometimes.
totally.
It's how you define it.
And I always listen to that. I mean, you always have to listen to your intuition for sure.
Yeah, the intuition, we're more powerful than we think we are, long story short.
100%.
And if these mics weren't attached to this extension, I'd say mic drop, and that'd be the cue right there. But we can't drop the mic. Chicka. But Aaron, I want to thank you. Like I said, I'm sure you're going to be on another episode because we just read a book.
Hopefully, all these people don't think I'm a crazy lunatic.
No, you're far from that. I think if they don't think you're crazy, then
we're all crazy.
We're all crazy in one way. But thank you so much for being on here.
Thanks, man.
Aaron Colbert. I don't know if you want to. I'll put a tag on your info and stuff like that.
Just go to Insta, Aaron Colbert.
Bing, bang, boom. Is this your name?
Yeah, it's my name.
Oh, it's nice to lock that down.
Yeah.
I just got my last name on mine. All right, Dead Talks. We ready, guys. That was a tremendous episode. You have some amazing stories that, kind of back up what you're saying. And regardless, I think your intentions are incredible. And I think your insight on life, hopefully it can heal some people that are listening right now. Even if it's one person.
I appreciate it.
So thank you, brother.
Have a good one.
All right, guys. See you next episode.
Ciao.
Later.